Alright guys, I'm bringing another Mohawk fade. This one's going to be a little bit longer on the back and sides here. So I'm going to start with my number 1 guard. I'd recommend for some of you guys just start with it open. So I'm going to start with the open taper, and I'm just going to go up and I'm going to rock it out using my rocker motion. Up in this area, this is normally going to be like an area of concave, and pretty much 90% of people's heads it's going to kind of come in there, so really get it up in there good. And another trick you can use is kind of maybe even using a shorter guard in there if you have to, you know, so like right there where it swoops in, I might just have to close that down a little bit and get into the middle of that with it. Anyways, alright, I'm going to close this now. I'm going to go just underneath where I went. Just fading the very bottom down to a number 1 close. So now I'll open it halfway in between. And pretty much just meeting my other length. Meeting my other length. Alright, spin them. Other side, same thing. Open taper. Motion. Most of the motion's right here in my wrist. You know, I see a lot of guys cutting hair with their arm. They're using their arm. You're not going to be accurate if you're using your arm. The motion's in your wrist. So it's the same thing now. Really get into that concave spot. And I'm going to close it all the way. Clippers now to the bottom. In the closed taper position. And I'm going to use the clipper over comb here. Combing his hair towards me so I can make the line more defined and I can really see what needs to be done. Get right underneath there. I'm going to use the bottom of my clipper. I'm going to lift it up. You know, really at this point it don't matter what kind of clipper you're using or whatever. I'm just using clipper over comb to blend it out. So it really didn't matter what guard I used to start with, as far as the number 1 with the Walls, the number 1 with the Andis, number 1 with the Oster. Okay, in that little concave area, as I said, you're always going to get a shadow in there. So I'm just going to lay the comb a little bit and tip it out. Take 1 pass, go a little deeper, take another pass, go a little deeper, take another pass. Starting to look pretty good. Again, it don't have to be perfect. We can run back over it with our clippers a little bit. I'm going to have to in that little dark spot. I'm going to switch to the other side. I'm just knocking out most of the bulk. Same thing with this line. Alright? So I'm going to start lifting. As soon as I cut, I lift. As soon as I cut, I lift. And this is by far the easiest way to fade the back of a Mohawk fade, especially because sometimes you're getting them guards in there, you don't got much room, it can be kind of hard. Like him, he's got growth patterns moving this way, moving that way, and you know, one of the best ways to deal with it is a little bit of clipper over comb. So now I'm going to push all the hair this way, make this line a little more defined, and obviously I can't use the same technique on this side as I use because I'm right-handed. On this side it was easy, so now, unless you're left-handed, this is going to be the side that's a little bit different, so I'm just going to go right underneath it like this, and basically do the same thing. And then I can also lift it out like this a little bit too. Just come in there, lift it out. I mean, and this is just cut to look. So I just keep looking at it. Like right here, I'm kind of liking how that's looking. Right here, I'm kind of not liking how that's looking. So I'm gonna go right there, shape that out a little bit better. All right, I'm gonna use some scissors on top. Before I do that, I just want to knock out the line. So I'm going to come right here in the back and kind of see where the old line was, see if I like it, and just kind of follow. Just to kind of let tough growth pattern he's got. His hair just really wants to come this way. So just be careful about how you lift it up. You don't want to cut a bald spot into this area, and you'll end up having to cut it down a little short, and you want to have to go ahead and double work. So got my line looking pretty decent. I'm gonna come around the ear now. This is called arching. Most of the time I'm gonna arch my middle finger. I like to kind of anchor it right here, and I really keep these very sharp. So I don't want to even lay it on the skin much. I'm just going to be really careful about how I touch the skin. If I do take a stop like this, I'm just doing it really light. You can probably barely feel it. I really recommend when you're doing your edge to really make sure you have your client facing the mirror, and almost every cut you make, look back at the mirror. You'll never get off track like that as you can so simply with your eyes. So, just take this spot right here. Square that off nicely. Alright, scissor time. So now, I'm going to use my scissors. First thing, I want to make sure I got that all combed towards me, right? And I'm going to see line of definition and little areas that can be improved. So first things first, I'm just going to go right up until I see them start to stick out, and I'm going to continue lifting. As soon as I start cutting, I start lifting. Never make a cut and stay still, or you'll make a line. See how nice that's going to start to look? And this is just fine tuning too. There's really, we're not making huge adjustments here. We're just fine tuning what we did with that clipper over comb. Most of it was good. I can get right in those areas of that concave I was warning you about. I can get right in there pretty easy with this. If you don't feel comfortable with this, grab your thinning shears. Use the same motions. I'm gonna grab this. Spraying and combing at the same time. Thoroughly saturate the hair. Go ahead, comb through, lift, cut. Lift, cut. With your scissors closed too, you can use it to kind of hold your guideline. So like, let's say I'm losing my guideline, I just hold my guideline. So like right here, losing my guideline, kind of hold my guideline. Same thing I did with this clipper over comb. Just holding it out, making sure there's nothing too long sticking out, making it look bad. I'm incorporating his bangs right into the style, so a lot of times you would have to be careful around this bang area when you're doing this scissor over comb. You could easily cut somebody's bangs off, and you don't want to do that mistake. You can't grow them back. Okay, at this time I like to switch to a pair of shears that's a little bit smaller. Hello. And I'll go ahead and make the guideline starting in the middle. Depends how short you want to make it. I'm going to take just a little bit off, and I'm going to add a little bit of texture to it by just elevating the back of my shear. Easy way to cut yourself if you're not careful. Now I'm just going to connect that right to the front. So now I made my guideline right here. All that's left to do is for me to connect it to the bottom guideline I made with my scissors over comb. There's very little work to do up here with this. So I'll just start right in the very front. Again, if he had bangs, I'd be careful not to do this. I think I've showed you on a couple other videos what to do in the event that they got bangs. But right now, I'm just sticking right alongside of my guideline. I'm not trying to go all the way down here, not yet. And I'm just lifting my scissors so I can get that texture in there that I want. That way when he spikes it, it looks real edgy. texturized. Just staying right to the right side now of my guideline. My guide, if you look closely, my guide is right here, but I'm cutting's right there. So now, I'm just going to slide a little bit further down from my guide. Now my guide is here, and my cutting area is going to be right here, in this area. So, I'm going to start as far forward as I can find. Guide there, cutting area there. Cutting the last little bit, last little bit. I'm just blending those two lengths together. Side's looking pretty good. Make sure you got it thoroughly saturated. You do not want to have it half wet and half dry, because what happens to hair when it dries? Shrinks. Alright guys, that's the longer version of the Mohawk fade.